Welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura, and I'm going to do a general message for Libra. Know that energy is fluid, so roles could be reversed, flip it, switch it, twist it. Interpret the message as it best resonates for you. Happy birthday, Libra. Wherever you are, understand that, like I said, energy is fluid, and so you may resonate more with certain aspects of this video, and you may say that it's more in alignment with your person. The message always goes to the person that needs to hear it, especially when we're doing spiritual readings. See, you're an energy, and your energy determines who and what comes into your life. And what really determines your energy is your thoughts and your emotions, and then the actions that you take. And your level of consciousness is really what determines your character. Unfortunately, there's only two energies, love and fear. So when we're talking about the shadow, we're talking about the parts of ourselves that we hold fear energy. So it's parts of ourselves that we've rejected, don't like, detached from, disassociated from. And so we wouldn't be aware of these parts of ourselves and understand it's because our consciousness then forms a persona of that aspect, which is considered to be a mask. So the behaviorisms and the habits that play out are karmic. So when we don't learn a karmic, like why a karmic situation has happened, and then a lot of times that'll happen when we go through an experience where a person makes us feel not good enough, makes us feel not enough, that there's a sense of lack. There's a sense that we have given energy to something that really wasn't worth giving attention to, that made us feel a certain way. Now, understand, perceptions are created from real experiences. So integrating this spiritual lesson means you have to go back into the experience and deal with it differently, usually through a place of unconditional love. Because again, there's only two energies, love and fear. So when we're dealing with something through a fear-based consciousness, and we would know this because we would be triggered by anger. We would have a negative emotion response due to a wound that we have. Why we want to integrate our wounds is because we want to transcend the limitations of our experience, which is really important when we're dealing with past life karmic mates. Okay, so just so to understand, am I going to look and see what is happening in your connection? Of course I am, but we are going to focus more on the shadow aspects, which can play out as, again, behaviorism. So what is happening in your life is being determined by these spiritual elements. So in order to heal, you have to integrate, and that means deal with this situation differently. Excuse me. So again, as I said, there's many different realities that play out at one time. Your level of consciousness is what is going to determine the karmic outcome and whether or not you have broken the karmic cycle. Now, does that mean that you would never have to go through a similar experience? You would. The difference is there would be no emotional charge after a while. You wouldn't care. It wouldn't trigger you. And this is how you know that you have evolved and, again, have broken that karmic, whatever it is. Sometimes it's a karmic connection. It could be a trauma bond. It could be something that we're attached to that is really preventing us, that is blocking us from moving forward. We find out what the consciousness is in order to change the behaviorism, in order to heal and integrate. So if you're someone that is in need of shadow healing, you definitely want to check out my shadow healing program. I offer inner child healing, shadow healing, reparenting, we also do healing because when we go through traumatic experiences, there are effects from that trauma. And that would be anxiety, depression, problems staying present, not knowing what your soul path is, not knowing how to find your soul's path. When you keep reliving karmic themes, and the karmic theme could be one that keeps you in a place of victimization, betrayal, a place of lack, a place of disempowerment. Now understand you're always going to have people in your environment that try to stop you or take what's yours, but nothing can take what's yours. Only you can, and that is really determined by how you react and respond to what is happening in your environment. So a lot of times we get stuck in the story of what happened instead of learning about why a certain spiritual situation is happening. Without fully embodying a new way of consciousness, you cannot feel, and we are energetic beings, so we're using all our senses, and to recondition the nervous system and to create new neurological pathways within the mind, which then you're going to get the right automatic responses. It's a process. So like I said, if you're someone in need of shadow healing, you definitely want to check out all the information that I have in my description box. I have links to my website, links to Patreon that offers a lot of different types of subscriptions, but every single tier for the shadow healing program offers not just those three things, which is the inner child work, the shadow healing, and the reparenting, but breath work, EFT, meditation practices, reflection practices, hundreds of PDF files. So not just incorporating spiritual, but actual psychological proven exercises to help you recondition the body and mind so that navigating your life is going to be much easier. So again, you definitely want to check everything out. It's in the description box. If you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, all you need to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word. Let's see. Write the word oneness in your comment bar. Now you'll know if I chose you if I wrote the word winner underneath. If I did, you and I would just correspond back and forth on YouTube, figure out the best day and time that works for the both of us. And then I will just put the link underneath the comments the day or the night before your actual reading. Now all readings are done after my live stream. So you'll see the title of the live stream. It's not going to have your name on it. It's going to have the name of the topic, but then right after. And then I open the floor up per se for anyone that's on to be able to ask me whatever questions they want to ask. Okay, now we're going to see how oneness is tied in to this reading. I always feel like spiritual energy is that we're a magnet of who and what in this story. There's no mistakes. I never open up my readings the same way, but I'm always expected to channel from the divine a message, and that message is to help you heal as a whole, not just heal your relationship. So when we're talking about oneness, we're actually talking about unconditional love. What connects us to each other is love. What transcends time and space? Love. What is the energy of the universe? Love. What is the energy that's inside of all of us? Each individual, every single person, every single being, every single plant, animal that has a spirit is love. And so This may be talking about a soulmate, a twin flame. Could be talking about a past life karmic mate, but oneness. And so when someone comes into our life that's a past life, soulmate, karmic mate, a lot of times it's when things are happening in our life. I'm kind of feeling that energy, that there's a shift. So the energy of this is there's a lot of unconditional love, but it's also a difficult relationship. And it's difficult because we have to find our balance. And how do you heal? As I just said, you have to go back into a situation that allows you to re-experience what you've experienced, but you have to handle it differently. A trigger is an automatic response. So let's look and see how you are getting triggered, how you and your person is getting triggered, because the triggers are not real and really what are happening right now. A lot of times triggers, the main trigger is happening from that soul wound. And this is why we do look at the sense God, is to look at what the wounds are, but to see what the triggers are is important, because the trigger is the perception. What is the level of perception that you and your person are locked into right now that is creating the block? Okay, so forgotten, I felt invisible. So again, forgotten by you, as if I never existed. So there are a lot of communication problems within this connection. And I do believe that your person wants to be perceived as if they're very strong and very confident, and they don't feel their emotions. They don't want to feel vulnerable. They don't want you to perceive them as weak. So what they do is they overcompensate. See, when we have a second chakra imbalance, it means that we don't feel good about ourselves. So you're dealing with someone that doesn't really feel good about themselves. Why? Because when we have a block in the throat, it means that we have blocks in all the chakras that are underneath the throat. And most likely we have blocks in the higher chakras as well. But we create our world with our voice. If we don't communicate, we're acting too much on our intuition. And if we need healing, our intuition is mainly it's not balanced. It's more we're basing our intuition more on our feelings. That's not really our intuition. Or we may think that our intuition is anxiety. We're not coming from a place of balance. When we're coming from a place of balance, it's that we're able to speak our truth, ask for what we need. We feel safe in the relationship, and that's a root chakra issue. So your person has a root chakra imbalance, and so it says a lot more about them than it does you. And what it usually means is the person has shame that they need to heal and integrate. But it's making you feel as if you're not good enough. It's making you feel like, and that emotionally you're not getting what you need. I'll ask more. Trouble. Avoidance. So again, part of not communicating, right, is avoidant, but we just explain why. So what it is that they don't talk about it. I felt you were ashamed of me and were avoiding me. So it says more about you, Libra, that you feel defective. So shame is what the person that you're connected to, the wound that your person has, and that's they don't feel comfortable in expressing themselves. At one point in life, they were told not to express themselves in that way. And so they avoid anytime the relationship, there's a problem. They create more of a problem through avoiding, because that's a wound that you have. Oh, okay. So past lover, memory, and time is all what came out. I'm going to take them because I always believe that there are no mistakes. Again, spiritual energy, no matter how crazy it looks, sometimes we'll be like, that looks like it wasn't supposed to be. Well, unless like you really drop the entire pile, then it wouldn't be. But 3 cards, I kind of am going to intuitively take it because it tells us different perceptions of where a person is coming from, where their trigger is. Because we know your trigger, Libra, is, well, you maybe feel forgotten and you avoid talking about things. You don't feel comfortable talking. So past lover, the display of affection you have towards your former partner triggers my insecurities. Memory, I felt I have already lived through this before and it triggers my reaction to the memory. Time, I felt you had more time for other people than me. You have become too busy for this connection. So what it is that you're with a person that doesn't feel good in communicating. And then what has happened is that you emotionally, I feel like, don't get, you or your person doesn't feel that they don't get enough. And then they talk to other people in hopes to get emotionally what they need instead of healing what they need to without seeking it from someone else. And so what you're seeing is a kind of like a passive aggressive way to manipulate someone when someone doesn't want to talk. The person doesn't want to seem vulnerable. They don't want to be able to ask for what they need. So they avoid, and then you feel forgotten in hopes that you will talk, in hopes that you will do the footwork. And so instead of talking, they, will talk to someone else. So we see an intimacy problem. When you're connected to someone that only wants to like departmentalize the relationship, where that's make it look perfect. And anytime there's a little problem, they run away. But then they also depend on other people for emotional support, but they're not, again, open to you. So it's creating like this problem, and it is triggering for you because it's making you feel as if you're being like not being chosen as like that person. You feel like you're always taking a back seat, but that's this person's issue, is that they have avoidance problems. And they're detached from their trauma. But this is a soulmate relationship, but I believe it's a karmic relationship. And the reason why I say that is because time. It's like what transcends time and space is unconditional love. And the oneness tells me that. But the person is not giving you what you need. And it says it here where, well, you're not doing it for them, but this is the problem. The person feels that you're not doing it for them. They're feeling like, okay, like you give it to everybody else. And you may say, well, I don't, I just have conversations. I feel like I can't have a conversation with you is what I'm feeling. And so again, you're in a relationship with somebody that there is a strong connection to, but there's major communication issues. And really on a deeper level, there's intimacy issues. So we look at the triggers and we see, why, Libra, would you have like a person come into your life that this would be a karmic theme? What do you need healing? And what are they going to do? Because just because a person has wounds, remember, every soul relationship, it's a karmic relationship. So there is an opportunity for them to learn. And that's by doing something else. Unconditional love is a catalyst that makes us do things that we normally wouldn't do. That's why we do these readings, because a lot of times it's dependent on what you do. Maybe be someone that really has a strong connection with someone that needs healing, and you just can't walk away from the connection. You feel like it binds you somehow, like you love the person, but you also see on some level the connection is toxic, or the connection is not exactly the healthiest. And sometimes that's just because you yourself, we are giving too much of ourselves, not even because the person is expecting that. It's because we love that person so much, we want to be there. So the wound tells us about ourselves. The karmic situation that's playing out, where you're in a connection with someone that's not bending to you, you're not bending to this person, both people are not really talking, communicating. You tried to at one point, and this person shut you down one too many times. So you tried to manipulate them by talking to other people or getting your needs met from someone else, which again, then furthermore makes your person feel like like not loved. So we see again, what is the wound that needs to be cleared for Libra? And this is important because, like I said, it's about working on ourselves. So when we want to see change within our relationship, we have to change ourselves. And we forget that. We get triggered and we're like, no, I want that person to change. I want them to do something. And that's a lot of times we're not going to get that. And that's the frustration part of it, because on some level we know. Abandonment. So again, Libra, the whole thing is that you have spiritual wounds of abandonment. So it's understand the number one law, spiritual law, that in order to not experience abandonment fully is to not abandon yourself. A lot of times in relationships, when we're in a relationship with someone that's not communicating and they're not making us feel safe in the relationship, which is what happened, which is why you made this person not feel comfortable in the relationship, as like a trigger, and also from reacting from past relationships that have also have made you feel this way. We know that it's abandonment. So you perceiving that the person that you're with has left you, but where in your life were you giving too much of yourself, where you abandon yourself? Because really, when we again experience abandonment, it's because we are abandoning like who we are. We're saying my love, my happiness, my truth comes in someone else, something else. And that's really is what creates an imbalance. It creates a lot of fear, because on some level we know that that person can't be our everything. Even if we want them to be our everything, even if they want to be our everything, they still can't be our everything. And so that's where the fear comes into play. So, but if everyone is creating themselves, finding themselves, then the relationship becomes balanced. And really, a relationship that's healed isn't one that keeps triggering each other, right? It's like that's when you're stuck in this Mexican standstill where you believe that they should change, they believe that you should change. And that's what we see here. But one that's healed is one that, again, works on oneself. And in that draws to you the people and situations, and in the changing of yourself and not looking for it from your partner. There's not an obligation. It's very easily given when there's not an obligation. Negativity, there's again too much negativity that's building up in the relationship right now, because like you said, when we stay in, and really that energy, we could have came into the relationship with this energy is what I'm feeling. You're clearing family karmic patterns. And that is, again, you grew up in a family that was codependent and you lost yourself in the connection. Your parents lost themselves in the connection. And back in the day, everyone was expected to play a role. And you're kind of reliving what your parents lived. So that's because the negativity tells me that it's like, again, this is generational. it's something that you both came into the relationship with. So it needs to be healed. It doesn't mean that everybody has negativity. I don't care who you are. You wouldn't be in physical form. We're here to learn and to manifest. You're learning you're not separate from unconditional love. You get a person that you love deeply, even though a lot of times logically it doesn't make sense because it triggers us. But there's so much chemistry and there's so much potential and there's so much other things. However, again, the negativity is mainly, again, about our own shadows, the parts of ourselves that we've detached from. And so when we haven't created ourselves enough, and that means found ourselves, there's a reason why it says be like child in the Bible, because children go out and they explore and they don't judge how they explore. They don't judge their process. They just go out and seek whatever they're intuitively called to. They find themselves through the act of creating, through utilizing what's in their environment and connecting to like other kids in the environment and learning and growing. And so when we do this for ourselves, we find ourselves, and that becomes our identity. On some level, both parties didn't form who they were because they inherited family trauma. And so again, if our parents are living in survival mode, then the children are living in survival mode, whether they believe it or not, because children are designed to love their parents and want to really protect their parents. That's why children a lot of times grow up too fast. They become their own parents. There's many different reasons. So the negativity is that it's parts of self that is judging oneself from the child's self. And that's because of everything that you both went through in childhood. So we get our soulmate, we get our twin flame, we get somebody again that we're passionate about to help us transmute that negative energy. And that's through the element of fire, passion, fire. Well, the passion and chemistry, and also again the act of actually grounding and doing, and then learning spiritual lessons of forgiveness and compromise, and again, not expecting. We're in this relationship here that I look at, I am expecting you, no, you're expecting me, and we're both stuck in, I want you to change, instead of looking at the higher purpose of why you're in this connection with this person, because you won't transcend it dealing with it the way that you both are dealing with it. You're both going to be triggered a lot. Okay, and so perfectionism, need to control, and that actually happens when we don't like who we are and we detach because we feel that people have left us. If there's a sense of defective, I'm shameful because I'm defective. Really, we're clearing negative energy of shame, and that's ancestral, or being perceived that there was something wrong with us, when really we're perfect. We're born perfect. If we're born into an environment that's imbalanced, and then we have to like adjust to compensate who we are, which is what happened with these two people, Libra, you and your person. You both had to compromise with who you were for family issues, whether that was you grew up in an alcoholic family, whether you grew up with one parent, whether you grew up with not a stable parent. Again, you grew up in an imbalanced environment where you had to be a child. I mean, be the parent, so you were never able to be the child. So you don't know what you like. You don't know and understand. You inherited shame. The negativity is shame. And those are parts of self that you don't really know who you are. And by not finding who you are, you're holding on to this shame as if you guys are actually that. And so it is triggering because there is abandonment, fear of abandonment, and need to be perfect. And there's no such thing as perfect. We are perfect in our own right, but there is no perfect. We shoot for exquisiteness, and that comes through our purpose, and that comes through creating ourselves. Here, we see, again, a trauma bond where you know, the two people are not creating themselves. So that doesn't mean that the person doesn't love, but we're going to look at the hidden truths, because the person may be with you, Libra, for again, what you bring to the table more than actually whether they care, or they can be with you because they really do care, but they feel like you're going to heal them on some level. There's some expectation. And really, on your level, you need to, again, heal your issues of abandonment and the need to be perfect, because there is no perfect. But they also could perceive you to be perfect. And maybe in the beginning of the relationship, that's how you came into the relationship. The negativity from what you had endured in childhood, you brought into your other relationships where you experienced abandonment. So you came into the relationship trying to be perfect and everything to this person. And in it, now you're neglecting yourself. And that's the imbalance. And so we have to see whether or not, again, we know that your person has the same wounds. They're just not doing as much. Now we want to look at the hidden truths of your person, like what is their intention? Is it that they really are wounded? Do they need to heal? Or is there a specific reason, like what is holding this person? So I don't react when people mention you. So I feel like this person, you do a lot to keep this relationship together. It's again to try to be perfect, to try and recreate what you didn't have in childhood. And so again, and when your person doesn't really give you your place, doesn't make you feel. And I feel almost like because they don't give you that, there's a sense that you don't know what they tell people, you don't know anything. So you try to give as little information because you don't want to look stupid. Because this person's a little bit flippy. And not flippy because they don't care. It's again, they have their own wounds, and that's the way that they're dealing with their wounds. You happen to be in their life. So it's triggering, but they're learning to recondition. And I say that because they're in the relationship with you and they're not leaving. You guys are just in this stuck pattern of wanting both of you to change. And so after a while, there becomes bitterness and anger, where you're like, I don't want to sound like a crazy person because I'm off again with this person. I feel you leaving me behind. So there's always a sense as if like it's going to end at any time. Now, sometimes, again, when we come into the relationship with wounds of abandonment, we are just waiting for the other person to leave us behind. But does that mean that this person definitely has commitment issues where they're trying to trigger you because they are not comfortable with expressing themselves and feeling vulnerable, which is what triggers you. Like this relationship isn't stable, where really this person that you're connected to doesn't feel stable. So they're trying to make them feel more stable, which is how you would try to create more stability for this person, but then abandon yourself and what you're supposed to do. So this is really what the hidden truths are. And then we see like, what is the dark wound that they would have to heal and the dark wound that you would need to heal? And then why are you having this relationship? Because there's always a higher purpose. And then obviously how to deal with it. Because when it's a spiritual block like this, where you're like, okay, I always feel like you're going to leave me. You don't feel safe. You refuse to change. You want me to change to compensate for this connection. And though I have feelings for you, I'm not willing to do that because in the long run, you won't get what you need, which means that you have done healing on yourself. So guilt and regret, they're hoping that, they can make you feel bad. Again, maybe at one point you felt like you could that if you would have put more effort into into a past relationship, that you would have gotten a different outcome. There's a sense of like almost like you're trying to do as much as you can to like give this person enough so that you feel okay to leave, almost like this person needs to prove to you, which says again more about your own healing. And possibly because, you know, when you give a lot to this relationship, right? And this is what I feel like it's again, regret is a lot of times when we grow up in a very imbalanced environment and our parents were not able to heal themselves, there is a sense that we feel as if we could have did more, we could have, and so that is not real. But regret can keep you bound to a toxic person. And I feel like there's a sense that your person knows that they also need to step it up. And if that they don't, you will leave them behind. And they don't know whether they can do that or not, which says again something a lot more about them than it does you. Remember, you're the catalyst to help them heal, but it's up to them to rise from the ashes. You have the phoenix in back of me, and to rise from the ashes, we need to like crash and burn. And so like understand revenge. So that there's a sense like your person has been a lot of really bad relationships. So it's almost like a sense of I'm always waiting for a person to retaliate. So if we grew up in an environment that, again, we didn't feel safe, and that could be our parent was an alcoholic, it could be like we just weren't supported, we weren't emotionally able to like express ourselves or feel comfortable being ourselves. And it's a perception, it's the child's self. Then when we don't feel safe, then it plays out a lot of times as revenge. But if your person is like, what I see here is a lot of, there's love, but there is a fine line between love and hate. And you're both not coming from the right level of consciousness. You both want each other to change. And really where you're like open and expressing yourself, and this person doesn't want to be open, wants you to bend more. Well, you can't change them, you change yourself. And what this says is this is more of a karmic mate, and we know that because karmic mates always revenge, because that energy is not just the negative energy that has accumulated within this relationship. It's a negative energy that has been accumulating over lifetimes. And that's why you were born into the family you were born into, and have dated the people that you have dated, and have living the experience that you're living with this person. So we say, okay, so why on the bigger level is this happening? Or what does this person plan on doing? Because again, emotions are fleeting, they change. And when we have a wound, we can feel one way, we can act one way. And like this, why people that need healing a lot of times can be perceived as crazy. They can be perceived misdiagnosed. And that's because they have spiritual issues. If you live in a certain environment, it's going to create certain perceptions. Our healing is determined on what we choose to do. We have the right, we have the power. It's all about healing. It is all about healing. Okay, so we want to know why. Okay, 2 cards fell out. We're going to take them. It says, I long to sweep you off your feet and shower you with love. I long for your kisses and your touch. Well, if that isn't like a friggin' like a contradiction, so there's still a lot of passion. So this showed us this person really isn't learning anything. They're really being driven by the fact that this is a soul connection. They feel the passion. They can't walk away. They're addicted a little bit to the negativity, because understand, if you grew up in that environment and that's all that you had, there's a sense, unless you become crazy and irate, this person doesn't really feel as if you care as much. You know, always feeling like you're leaving them behind, but always wanting a reaction. So it's not about you being perfect, they wouldn't have chosen you to be perfect. But there is a sense, a little bit of narcissism is what I'm feeling, which is, again, not reacting when people mention your name, not giving you the credit. And so it all comes back to this abandonment. But again, no one can really abandon us. You don't need to guilt yourself because it's a soul's connection. If a person is avoidant, it means that they don't want to change. It means that eventually they're expecting you to change. And if you don't change, it doesn't matter that there's passion. That passion can ignite to being negative, where the person then wants to control. Because revenge is, again, I want to take control of this situation, which, remember, what is being cleared is the negativity of shame. So again, that's really heavy duty energy. So I saw a lot of manipulation through, again, talking to other people and time. And again, you're just not getting what you need. But in order to manipulate this situation, you have to change. It's not about changing this person. Remember, your healing is reliant on what you do. Your karma is based on your character, based on your behaviorisms. And like I said, so let's ask the universe will last. There are 2 different universal cards. Let's see whether the universe can weigh in, because how would you deal with that? That just kind of slid out. We're going to take it. There's 2 cards here. My energy creates my reality. What I focus on is what I will manifest. So when I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world as I see it. So it's these 2 cards, and we will talk about them in seconds. And we will choose from the energy oracle to see what the other healing advice is, how to integrate this wound. And integration does not necessarily mean, hey, I get back and my person just, it's easy. No, it's about changing you. Because when you change you, you inevitably feel better, believe it or not. The manifestation is that that person that you're connected to that doesn't want to change usually doesn't feel better because they can't manipulate you. But a karmic connection is one where it's like, it's about unconditional love. So we gain spiritual equilibrium through surrendering to what is. It just is. It's like, it's not bad. It's not good. It's a triggering relationship that I learned from. However, on some level, there's unconditional love there. And because I learned, and it brought me, if anything, wisdom about myself, wisdom about what's good for me. All right, the path to light. I feel like I should only pull one from that deck. Sometimes I want to go on and on and on with the cards, and Spirit says, like, enough. So, okay, so we're going to end it off with to see what the wisdom is, because what we see here is like 2 people that really need to do healing on themselves and create themselves in order to create balance, because they'll never gain spiritual equilibrium. And that's when we surrender and actually can surrender and blind ourselves back to this unconditional love space, instead of wanting everybody to bend and expecting the person to be different, act different, want different. Understand this is a second chakra imbalance. So the energy, your energy creates your reality. So understand, if you're going to focus on this person's going to make you aggravated and annoyed. Anything else that's in your life is going to be pushed away from you, because you, in order to obtain what you're trying to manifest in your life, and that could be abundance, and abundance could just be, I can pay my bills. Abundance, also emotional fulfillment. I'm not lonely. I have, everything that I need. So if you're coming from a place of lack because you're angry, it's depleting. When we're angry, it drains our energy a lot. We don't realize we're focused on things that we don't have any control over. And that energy, again, builds up a momentum, and it makes us not grounded. And then we're not coming from a place of the now, the present moment. We're possibly even missing opportunities because we're in our head. So again, it's really important, again, to focus on what you're passionate about. And that's through finding yourself, which means that you need to be grounded in your body and interconnected with other people. And that doesn't matter what those platforms will be. It could be something as simple as joining Facebook groups, or taking a class, an online class, or going down to your local health food store. It's a process of finding self. Because understand, you're an energy being, and this is your energy. So your energy is made up of your thoughts and your emotions, and that is based on past experiences. So you will continually pull the same type of energy that plays out as a karmic experience until you integrate the spiritual lesson, which we already know was that there's too much codependency here, which is why there's a power struggle. So what's lacking is, again, the energy that you're bringing to the table, the energy that this person is bringing to the table. So again, what you focus on. So what you focus on should be things that are going to bring abundance, things that, again, are going to fill you with unconditional love. That's through connecting to like-minded people, embodying things that you love to do. Again, feeding your energy to things that are going to grow you. It's, again, because when I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world that I see. So when you're able to come from a place of love, and so faith is the actions that we take, right? Again, faith is a bridge that connects you to what you reap, to what is sown. So what you, again, sow is, again, a combination of your energy. So when you're leaning on your faith, and that's through your action, you have to ground it. Then what happens is you see how the universe conspires to bring you everything that you need. You don't look at your situations as only as disappointments when friends don't show up for you and don't do the right things. You see it as you're redirected. You don't judge your process. You don't say, I'm behind schedule, because you're actually seeing signs and synchronicities that are literally conspiring to bring you the energies for you to succeed, regardless of your perceived limitations. And that could be how much education you may have, how much skill you have, whatever it is, whatever lack that you are seeing, the universe is bringing you tools to help you overcome those feelings. And that's through the embodiment experience of actually doing what you feel that you're lacking in. So the path to light, a lot of times, means we got to walk through fear, right? It's just what it is. And so again, it takes courage. My recommendation is you always need to train your nervous system, which is, again, why in my coaching program, I help you to recondition your nervous system, because root chakra issues, which is what I see here, will create a lot of anxiety and depression. There's a lot of up and down energies because we haven't really found ourselves. We haven't found what we are passionately about. And the path to light is all about the path to love, to our unconditional love. So I make the conscious choice to move forward, the light, one step at a time. I transform my weakness into strength by mastering my thoughts. I overcome obstacles with positivity and acceptance. I develop my gifts and extend my light to every being unconditionally, which is what I keep saying is what the universe is just confirmed, which is, hey, you want to be in a better relationship. You want to balance out this relationship and get out of this power struggle. Because again, the second chakra is not just about your relationships and passion, but when it's out of balance, it's about control. And that's because it's the emotional center that wounds are being activated. Understand that chakra also, that is the center that we incarnate with our wounds. That is actually the only bone that doesn't get decomposed when we die. It's the sacrum, which is why it's considered the sacred, because it holds all our Akashic records. It holds all our soul programs. So again, in order to heal any wound, it's always to be the path to light, because the path to light is becoming unconditional love through giving and receiving of love. Then you're connected to other people and you balance out your energy, which was the story here. Because it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I'm supposed to be with this person, I'm not supposed to be. Everything's perception. Obviously, if a person is pissing you off to the point that you're angry all the time, they're not good for you, they're toxic. However, you need to ask yourself why you're pulling this person to you, and understand it most likely you'll pull somebody else to you, and this same type of karmic experience will play out again and again and again, which will keep you in a place of disempowerment, will keep you in a place of lack, will keep you in a place where you're angry because you feel like you can't really receive love, when that's not really it. Is that you need to change your approach to what you perceive the person's supposed to do to show you that they love you. Because real unconditional love, which is what we saw here, when both parties surrender, there is love. But it's again, in order for my protection, it needs to look a certain way. You need to act a certain way. You need to be a certain way. And Spirit saying that's way too much time on what you believe your other person needs to do for you. You need to do for you and your other person. Again, there's unconditional love. It can't be broken regardless of what you do. Unless, of course, you abandon yourself and try to manipulate this person, then there will probably still be unconditional love, but from afar, because the relationship won't be able to withstand. There'll be too much negativity. I'm going to leave that there, Libra. You let me know whether you resonated with this. And remember, if you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word oneness in your comment bar. You'll again know, because I'll write the word winner underneath, and you'll be able to find the link. I will post it the day before or the day of your actual reading that we set, and I'll post it right underneath those comments for you. Again, want to check out those subscriptions in my what is it? Not my comment bar, in my description box. You want to check out those subscriptions because they really offer everything, and they start at $7.99. I'm not just a person that became a teacher. I had to heal the effects of trauma, and my dad had cancer over 8 times. He had upper and lower back surgery, 2 hip replacements, and he was very spiritually imbalanced. He was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Skipped grades in school, but suffered a lot, was married to a narcissist, somebody, again, that was spiritually very sick, that was very abusive. And as sick as my father was, my mother was physically and mentally. She was more mentally sick. Like, again, that's how energy goes to energy. Like goes to like. So you are a magnet of who and what your energy is. And when you are conditioned in an environment that's imbalanced, you form behaviorisms and habits that need to be reconditioned. So I know firsthand is what I'm trying to say, that the effects of trauma are devastating. And it really keeps you in a place of feeling like you can master your life. You can't make your life work. Understand you can make your life work, and it doesn't need to break the bank. You know, we all need to feel love. We all need to feel support, especially while we're on our healing journey. So definitely check out those subscriptions, because this is a community channel that offers a lot of free resources, but also offers an array of subscriptions to help you with healing the effects of trauma, as well as open your psychic and mediumship abilities to really help you transcend the limitations of your mind, of your everyday daily experiences. And that's really important right now, especially since we're in a spiritual war. And that spiritual war is of consciousness. So you definitely want to get skills to help you to transcend that war, because we all have to go through the war. However, some of us go through it a lot easier than others, and that's because we've done our healing. It's difficult to deal with the obstacles in the outside world and deal with our own trauma. The trauma that's happening outside is a reflection of the trauma that is happening to each and every single one of us on the inside, collectively. We heal the planet through healing ourselves. And I'm going to leave it there. Bye-bye. Till next time. Always be true to you. Love yourself. Remember, the kingdom of God is inside of you. Honor and love yourself.